Hi everybody, Matt here from Affirmation NFT. Just wanted to drop a quick video together following on from an interesting chat that we had on Twitter Spaces earlier this week around the artistic process and how that helps with people being able to identify, authenticity in your work. Can't talk to all of the different modes of NFTs that are created, i.e. animations, videos, photography, all of that sort of stuff. There would be a lot of different ways of being able to display uh, what process you go through there. But I will talk to what I typically deliver, which is in this series, sketch-based pictures and the layers that go within them. So I typically have a tablet and pencil that I use for any of my sketches, and I'll then import the assets from that into Photoshop to lay them out in the final kind of way that I'm happy with, which is what you can currently see on screen. I'm going to basically turn off all the layers in this image now, and then sort of re-enable them or make them visible so that you can kind of see what's gone into this image specifically. So I'm just going to turn them off all the way down, back down to being essentially the empty canvas. I've created this canvas specifically with this ratio because I wanted it to look the same as a Polaroid. So you can kind of see up here the Polaroid kind of template that I've used. I put that together and I looked at what the dimensions were, made sure it's exactly the same. Gave it this light grey background for my series one. I've got release information that details what essentially has gone into that NFT, number of copies, when it was done, the date, etc. Those are all text layers, so no magic there. You can obviously turn them on and off as I need to. I've then got the title information over on the right hand side. Again, all text layers, nothing weird or wonderful there in that sort of sense. I then have a background tile that I use to make sure that the background for the area that I'm using for the sketch is a solid white. So I put that in there and laid it out centrally as I wanted with the spacing that I want. I've also got a frame up here that I typically use to just provide a sort of darker border to that area that I'm working with. Then within that, typically on my series one, I tend to use a sort of washed or swished, or I'm getting my words all messed up, but a background that has watercolor paint strokes on it. So I put this together, made up of a couple of layers. So you can see the very background layer of that is the watercolor brush strokes that make up that shape that I use. And I then introduced some small markings and some sort of additional artifacts there using, I think it was an old brush that the actual um, item was called, as I was sort of providing a bit of detail to that background layer. So then as I sort of step forward again, I've then got the sketch artifacts itself. So I'm going to just come into here and just drop those off again, just so we can walk through them all. I've got a couple of components in here. Again, going to turn all of these off and I can walk through them bit by bit for you. So this is the feather layer and in here we've got paint strokes that I did. There's a mixture there of white and grey, so I've obviously done that on the same layer, which is almost sacrilege for me in terms of trying to separate out my artwork at times, but I must have forgiven myself on that one. There's some white and some slight grey as well. I've then got some shading up centrally through the actual spine of the feather. And I've got a bit of a minor details layer here that's just added a few kind of flecks of sketches onto that. It's very subtle, that layer though. I've got some edge texture, which adds a little bit of detail in around the edge of the feather, just to provide that more kind of feathery, fluffy kind of look that feathers have. I'll just knock that on and off so you can kind of see it. I then put in the spine of the feather itself, so the line through the center of that feather and also the branches almost that come out into the feather itself. And finally, the outline layer that adds all of that sort of detail to the shape of the feather itself and gives it its final look. So that's the feather kind of layer that's there. I've then got the dove layer. So this again has four layers to it and just builds up the dove that's on the sort of side up here. I've got I'll do it in the order that I typically sort of build it out in, if you like. I've got the outline that I'll do first, and I'll typically do that. I tend to be fairly pedantic with this. I might sort of sketch to start with, but I generally like to get a fairly decent outline of the actual image that I've done. And I actually did this one as a separate sketch and then brought that into this and shrunk it down a little bit. And I've just, I believe, put it slightly, again, I think it was red there for whatever reason when I was trying to do it with my sketch, and I've put it into black so it matches this. I've then got the backfill, so I typically will do that so that I've got a solid base of color to work from, and I know kind of what I'm building on top of that. Then I'll typically then put some shading onto it. In this case, this was more sort of painted shading than sketching, I believe. And then some color that I put onto the foot of the actual dove there. So it's actually only got the 4 layers, that particular asset, which is quite a small number for me. Specifically, some of the pieces that I've done after this have got an absolute raft. I've got like 20 or so different layers to them. So I'm probably quite glad that I've picked this one as an example for the video. Okay, I'm just going to collapse that one down. Finally, I've got the I am peace text down the bottom here. So again, that was hand-drawn text that's been written on the tablet that I've imported in. And those layers then build up essentially the sketch component of this. Again, just turning that off there, blue on, that back on. And again, you could go through and turn each of these things off to show you that they're all separate different bits and pieces. Through again the dove, building it back up, and you could do the same with the feather as well. But the point really in terms of this is just to show you that there's the whole raft of layers that have gone into this image in this sketch, and it's like that for all of the work that I do. I tend to painstakingly go through multiple layers, and sometimes I've griped a little on Twitter as well that I've run out of layers in things like Procreate. I think at one point it sort of only let me have 20 layers or something, and I was kind of like, but I need more, and I've had to condense them down sometimes. But I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into what one of my sketches is made up of. And I'd happily do that with another one if there's appetite for sort of seeing that. But I thought it'd just be a useful thing for you to be able to see how I put together my work and what that looks like a little bit. I hope you found that useful, and I will endeavour to keep sharing videos like this with stuff that you might find interesting about my work. Once again, this is Matt here from Affirmation NFT. Feel free to pop along on Twitter and say hello. I always like to chat to the community and connect with you all. So thanks for following me. Thanks for watching this, and I'll chat to you again soon. Take care.